Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. It's the DJI digital FPV system. As you can see, I have it mounted right here up on the Parrot Disco, 4G Parrot Disco. We're going to do a 4G flight today. We're going to fly it as far as we can that away, and we're going to try to see how the line of sight is, again, with the digital FPV goggles. Already did a flight in 700 milliwatts strictly, but there's a hack and you can make these up to 1200 milliwatts. So today we're just going to be testing the stock antennas with 1200 milliwatts and see what the absolute maximum distance we can get. We got 4 miles on the 700 milliwatt line of sight, and let's see if we can get farther on the 1200 milliwatt. Let's do it. Just so you guys know kind of what this is all about, if you guys were curious and you've seen some of my videos on this plane, this is the 4G mod for the Parrot Disco. This one's been discontinued, but if you can get one, you can do this 4G mod, so you can fly over a 4G modem. And this is the modem here. I just have some antennas on it. It hasn't really been confirmed if antennas really do work or not, but they seem to work fine in this area. There's the 4G modem. That has a T-Mobile SIM card in it. Again, if you want to learn more on this, go ahead and visit uavpal.com. I'll have the link in the description as well. It's a little bit, it takes a little bit of time and effort to do the mod, but it is definitely possible at a very low cost. I'm using just the dual 3500 Titan batteries here in parallel, so we're essentially getting about 7,000 mAh of power. And I do have my little track emo in there. Never fly this plane with this much money into it, especially the DJI setup and everything, without my track emo, because if this goes down and this plane runs out of battery, this little tracker will run for a few days. So at least you can go and track it on your phone and find your plane, even if you crash and the battery unplugs or there's no more battery power. Never fly without my track emo on more expensive planes and drones. So again, guys, I just want to reiterate, there was maybe some confusion in my last 700 milliwatt test with the DJI FPV system. This is completely separate. All I'm doing is plugging in the power, so there's no telemetry or anything plugged into a flight controller or anything. So you can do this if you want to, just use it as a video only standalone system, and that's what I'm doing here. Anyway, enough talking about it. Just wanted to fill you guys in on the plane I'm using here. Perfect platform for testing long range FPV. So anyway, let's get this thing up in the air and see what it can do. We're gonna launch directly in that direction. That seems to be where the wind's coming from. Let's cross our fingers and launch. Come on, baby. Woo! Okay, good. It's up. And we'll just do a right banking lighter until I set all this stuff up. Device, okay, it's in 25 milliwatt right now. So I'm gonna go with this hack, guys. You can go from 25 to 200 to 500 to 700 to 1000 to 1200. So go ahead and do that. So we're in 1200 milliwatt, good. Let's go back. And let's see how far we can get. So again, I'll have the goggles up on the screen. And I just got out of loiter. And we want to fly, where we want to fly is this way to the left. Oops. So I'm pushing to the left just a little bit. There we go. So you guys will be able to see my recorded goggles. I'll also be having the screen on my iPad. Also the disco, directly on the disco too, the video. So you guys can see all the video I'm taking right now. And then also on the air unit from time to time, I'll have that pop up. So my iPad screen, I don't have my iPad screen, my disco telemetry in view when I have the goggles on. So I'm gonna have to pick up my goggles and take a look here at the screen. So we're about 300 feet and we got 82% power left. So hopefully we can go for a ways, before we lose disco power. But I know this is a pretty good, I'm gonna go down a bit, a little bit high. This is a pretty good angle of attack here because there's 4G antennas down in Kihei, and that'll give us good disco 4G signal to fly in. So anyway, I'm just constantly looking at my iPad screen. 200 feet high, we're going at about 40 feet per second, and we just reached 1 mile. I'll have that pop up on the video so you guys can see that. And I'm really just trying to point my goggles exactly in the direction that the disco is. So you know, so we have the best possible line of sight with the goggles. Probably going to be hitting a little bit of wind gusts up there. Go down a little bit so we're not too high. So I'm just going to head directly out towards Kaho'olawe. That should be a pretty good plan of attack there. And as you can see, the video from the air unit, the DJI air unit, is a pretty wide screen, so you can see part of the disco. Pretty wide angle lens. But then when I look at my tablet, it's a lot more narrow. Cool. Looking good. We're going to try to keep it, you know, as much as possible just over the barren land here, so we don't fly over any homes or houses. Come down a little bit. Don't want to get going too high because the mountain does slope down here. Maybe I'll turn this way for a little bit. There we go. So we're just going to cross this subdivision. Maybe I'll actually go around it, just so nobody can say anything. So I'm not going to go over that subdivision. We're going to stay clear of it. Kind of go around it. So go to the right a little bit more. And if you guys look at the iPad screen, we're at 2 miles, just over 2 miles. And I'm going to tilt the disco camera down, picking up the goggles for a second so I can see my disco screen. Okay, a little more to the right, so we're just on the edge of the houses here. I don't want to go too high, so, or too, you know, too much over them. So once we pass over them, we're going to turn to the left. Looks like we just passed them, and we're going to turn to the left. Nice. Okay, let's kind of get back on track to where we're going. I'm going to tilt this camera down. We're at 2.4 miles, guys. Just testing out this digital FPV system. Again, I'll have the FPV goggles recording. And we're just going to fly straight this way. Cool. Pretty good direction. Looks like the 4G signal is good on the iPad here. I'll tilt down again, see where we're at. Good, not over any houses, so we're in a good direction. Just keep flying out this way. And let's have a look at our goggles. I had to put them up for a second, so they might have been, looks like they're getting a little pixelated. And I can hear that fan in the goggles is going pretty hardcore. Wow, yeah. So this is 1200 milliwatt. And I'm seeing some pixelation, guys. Hopefully I didn't have to reboot the goggles. Let me just make sure they're still in 1200 milliwatt. Go back into settings. We want to go all the way down to device. And then we're at max power. Yeah, we're still at 1200. Real quick, I'm going to switch it down to 1000. Let's see if we get a change. Boom. Just switched it to 1000. One more time, I'm going to go down to 700. This is what I was last time. I'm at 700 milliwatt, and that's what the FPV is looking like. You see that, guys? So a little pixelated. I'm going to go down to 500 now. 500 milliwatt. I would assume, yeah, it's really pixelated. Let's quickly go back up to 1200. Go. Yeah, it just came in a little clear. So apparently it immediately sends the signal straight to the air unit to kind of change its settings, which is good. So you can kind of change that on the fly, it seems like. Turn a little bit further to the right. Oh, there's that cinder cone there. Let's go down. I think I'm a bit high, even though I'm only a couple hundred feet from my launch altitude. I think I'm a little high. So go down just a tad. The FPV is looking good though. I think we're a little more left than my last flight. So we're still going to see just exactly how far we can get with 1200 milliwatt, even though I'm frying my brain cells. 3.8 miles. So this is about where the, you see on the iPad? 3.8 miles, guys. So this is about where the 700 milliwatt test crapped out. And so we're going to see if that's the case here. Remember, it was like 3 to 4. It was getting really pixelated in 700. There it goes. It's getting pretty pixelated. Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty bad, actually. You can see that. I'll have it up on the screen. A lot of pixelation. Now it's just pretty much just chopping out. So yeah, we're at right around 4.1 miles. I'll have the iPad, and there we go. I just got the DJI screen of no signal. So still around 4 miles in the same spot. Just popping the goggles up for a second. Maybe if I turn my head a little more that way. I think I was kind of facing the wrong direction. See if we do get signal back. Just looking at the disco screen here on my iPad, and gosh, it's crystal clear because that's flying over 4G. Tilt the camera down a little. That's having no issues whatsoever. We are a little negative on our altitude though. So maybe what I'll do is turn right a bit. There we go. Make sure I'm pointing the goggles in the exact right spot. And just come up a tad temporarily, real quick. See if we can get signal back on these goggles. No. Nothing. So we're still at about 4 miles, guys, with the goggles set in 1200 milliwatt. So perhaps it's better to set it up there if you can temporarily, if you're just close range for penetration, but for long distance, I'm not really seeing much of a difference. Maybe a tiny bit of an improvement. But as you can see, the video from the 4G is just fine. Plenty of signal. Looking just great. We got out there really quick. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say final verdict, still around 4 miles. So I'm going to turn around with the disco because I think we have a little bit of tailwind. And I'm going to just fly directly from screen here. Put the goggles up for a sec. Let's turn this plane around and come home. Or do we want to maybe fly, how much power do I got? I've still got 72%, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll turn around, we'll come back. We'll get a nice view of the Aloha Mountain here. Gosh, I was a little nerve-wracking in the beginning. Sorry about that. Kind of calmed down by now. I'm going to turn the disco around and see that Aloha Mountain there. Looks beautiful as usual. And we're going to come on back. Maybe we'll do a fly past this cinder cone again. Oh, a little bit of FPV breakup. Let's move this camera down. And fly to the left a little bit. Still trying to keep an eye on the DJI Digital FPV. It's not coming in yet. But we do have pretty good signal on the 4G. Maybe a tad bit of lag at the moment, so I don't want to get too close to the ground, but we'll just do a little bit of a dive bomb on this guy here. It's a little scary when the FPV is doing that, isn't it? There we go, just came in clear. Let's go down. Yeah, FPV seems a little bit laggy, so we want to be careful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my map. Still at 4.3 miles away. And I'm going to turn to the left. So this is what you get, guys, with the FPV sometimes when you're flying 4G. You see how it's really kind of blotchy and there's a lot of lines. That's the thing about this. If you have like signal congestion on the FPV, I mean on the 4G, or there's some other problem with the network, or they're tearing your speed, this kind of stuff can happen. So you might occasionally get that. There we go. Our video just came back in. Right at 3.9 miles. That's good. So let's do this again. I want to turn around one more time. I'll turn to the left this time. Getting a little pixelated. Okay. Nice. Kind of flying over that cinder cone again. Maybe I'll pull the disco camera down so you can see this thing. There's the edge of it. See that? Okay, so let's just fly out this way until we lose signal again. Might be at a little bit of a higher elevation. Just right towards Lahaina, that West Maui point. Pick up the disco camera again. Right about there. And just see on the FPV goggles. Give it another chance, right? Super pixelation, right at 4 miles. Okay. Well, that's what I'm getting. Oh, don't want to press buttons by accident. Yeah, so right at 4.1 miles it cut out again. Oh, I don't think I started recording the FPV goggles again, so hopefully I can remember to do that again. Let's turn around and let's come on home, guys. Okay, now this time I'm going to turn so we're coming right back at us. Come on, there we go. And I'm going to keep looking at the goggles for a minute. There, okay, they just popped back in right at 4 miles. Wow, I wonder if there's like a, and they're clear. Oh my gosh, I wonder if there's like a hard-coded limit of 4 miles on these. Never know. Could be. And I'm gonna start recording the goggles again so you guys can see this. Oh, there they are, recording again. Both goggles and the air unit. Tell you what we'll do, we'll go into, just because we're here and we're doing all these tests, FPV is super clear right now, we'll go into settings again. And we'll go down to the device, just using the menu on the goggles. You guys can't see this. I'm gonna go down to, oh wow, that's cool. Guys, it does it, as soon as you push up to the next level, it changes it. You don't even have to press in on the top button to confirm it. Because I went down to 25 milliwatt. You see that? That's 25 milliwatt. Breaking up like crazy. 200 milliwatt, it's actually doable. It's a little blotchy. Up to 500, that's how it's looking. 700, perfectly fine, like before. 1,000, and there's 1,200. So, big difference between 25 milliwatt, of course. It won't even, yeah, there it goes. See that? Holy smokes. And there's 200 milliwatt. So you're going to see the biggest difference between 25 and 200, of course. And then as you work your way up, it just becomes clearer and clearer. 1,000, and there's 1,200, which we'll leave it at. We'll back out of all the menus. And there you have it, guys. So you're going to get a little more clarity, maybe better penetration for like FPV racing and doing some closer proximity FPV. But as far as, let's go up a little bit. As far as long range FPV goes, still recording? That thing on? Yeah. Osmo Pocket still on. Good. As far as long range FPV, not much of a difference between 700 milliwatt and 1,000 to 1,200. So I wouldn't even bother to, you know, save your brain. Unless maybe you got some stuff to penetrate, like you're trying to go through things. But line of sight, not really necessary. As far as this test goes, right? Some people may have some different results. But that's what I'm getting here. There's really no interference here either. So I'm going to go up because we're getting a little low. So let's go up on the plane and we're going to fly directly behind us. Once we kind of get back to our location. Turning to the left a little bit. There we go. Look at the map. Again, that's what's so cool about this Disco is you have just this map here that's so easy to access. So I'm going to turn to the left and just make sure this Disco's coming directly back at us. And let's just have a good time coming on back. We'll kind of talk about what we see maybe. There should be some cattle here. We're already at, okay, so we're flying at 50 feet per second about back. So you can see that that's about a 10 foot per second breeze differential coming out. We were fighting some wind, and no, actually we should be fighting wind now. Who knows? I think it's pretty variable today. So that's the thing about wind, guys, here in Hawaii, is you're gonna have some super variable winds. Anyway, I'm just gaining altitude because I don't want to crash into anything, because we just passed our 0 altitude. Now we're up to about 100 feet and we're at 53% left. So here's what I'm going to do. Hit return to home, and we'll just press it here up on the top left of the screen. I just tapped it. And what that's going to do is it's going to make darn sure I'm coming back directly at us. And it's going to go up to the altitude that it went the highest during the flight. So apparently I went up to like 320 feet. Whoops, pressing menu buttons again. Back. All right. So let it come on back, and then what we'll do is we'll pass us and we'll let it fly behind our head while having these goggles facing forward. And we're going to just see how good it is in 1200 milliwatt behind the goggles. Are we going to stay this high? Probably not. I'll probably go a little lower, but that's how it's looking. Good, everything's recording, hopefully. Looks like my Disco FPV kind of froze up a bit. We're 0.9 miles away. fighting a bit of wind now, yep. I'm just going to leave it this high so we're not bothering anybody. Since we're, you know, we're flying over a little bit of residential areas here, so don't want anybody to hear this thing buzzing over their house as much as possible. So definitely not going to have any issues this close with 1200 milliwatt, right? Maybe we'll do the same thing behind the head. We'll go from 25 milliwatt and on up and really get a feeling for how it is. Getting kind of close, still at 320 feet high. We're about a half mile away now. Okay. And maybe what I'll do is cancel the return to home. Oh, that just puts it in loiter. Forgot about that. Redo return to home. Isn't that interesting how the camera goes perfectly horizontally when you put it in return to home? It has some kind of ability to stabilize the roll axis when it's in return to home. I hear it coming on back. And to get out of return to home, I'm just going to press the right stick to the left just a tad. There we go. So that canceled return to home, and there's the park I'm at. So I'm going to let it fly over our head in 1200 milliwatt and see really how good it is in 1200 milliwatt flying behind our head. And maybe we'll also switch to the different power settings as well. So I'm just going to stay in this exact orientation with the goggles. And here we go. Okay, so we're 1,000 feet away. Probably don't want to fly on the road, right? So we'll go to the left of the road. About there. Looks good. Okay, at least we're going fighting the wind right now, so we'll have an easy time coming back. But I am going to need to probably land this way, so I'm going to need to circle around again into the wind and land. So anyway, it's looking fantastic. All right, yeah, the goggles are as clear as they ever were. Have those recording for you guys so you can see that. And our distance is 2,600 feet. What's our speed? 42 feet per second, okay? So, I don't know, I think it was pretty variable out there in the Kihei area. You could see how we were going out at 40 and then coming back, we were coming at 50. But right here, it feels like the wind's blowing that way. So, that's just Maui winds for you. We've got this Haleakala mountain that blocks the winds once you get more towards the Kihei Wailea area over to the left that way where we were flying. So that's probably the reason for the wind differences. Okay, we're just approaching a mile. Now this is where it kind of cut out last time. Remember that? So stay going this way. So looking at my iPad screen again, 1 mile. Now let's take a look at the FPV on the goggles. So this is where it cut out in 700 milliwatt. Okay, and now I'm actually going directly through my noggin. So with 1200 milliwatt, 5.8 gigahertz through my head, back to the plane, probably not a super good idea. So if you get dizzy or have problems with Wi-Fi, definitely might not want to do this. I think I'm going to just cross over this road just for a second. So we're going more at a direct reverse direction. Okay. Oh, when I put my hand up to pull my goggles up, I got a little glitch. 1.3 miles. Looking good. Definitely gonna get more with the higher setting, going in the opposite direction. 42 feet per second. A little blotchy. Just took my hand away. Let's see if it heals its signal. I want to go right in between here where there's not too many houses. Okay, starting to get pretty blotchy. I want to turn the plane to the right. The FPV looks different than what the plane FPV looks like. Let's point the nose right about there. There we go. Kind of going through more of a rural area right here. Still got pretty good signal. Oh, right when I said that, I'll have that recording, guys. 1200 milliwatt flying directly behind me. And that's 1.7 miles. Unusable until just then. Just got it back. Okay. Well, that's good enough for me. Now it's just totally locking up. So I'm going to hit return home. Boom. Just hit it on the iPad. And the 4G's pretty good. Not as good as last time. I'm seeing quite a bit of breakup. So there we go. That was, I'm seeing the DJI screen of no signal. And that was 1.8 miles about. So we got like almost another mile with 1200 milliwatt going behind us. So that's when you're gonna, again, want to use it, is for penetration. Because in the front we're maxing out at 4 miles, right? There, it just came back in. Let's make sure we're still recording. Yeah, so it just came back in. It's a little pixelated at 1.2 miles, so the reconnection takes a little while to heal itself, it seems. Oh, I'm only seeing one recording up there. I'm going to double tap to stop all the recording and then tap again, because I was only seeing the SD card recording on the craft. So remember that happened last time. If you're trying to record your flight, you lose signal and you're only seeing one thing recording, which is the air unit on the craft. Double tap that, stop everything, tap once again to start the recording, because you may not be recording on your goggles if you really want that and you're doing these long range flights. So we're coming back 40 feet per second. Just doing a return to home. Looking great. Real quick, let's tap these settings down since we're out here. Oh, we only have 32% power left. We were fighting some wind going that way and burning some power. Let's switch it really quick down to 25 milliwatt. See that? There's down to 25 and you see the pixelation. Up to 200. That's what it looks like. Up to 5, a little clearer. Up to 7. Up to 1,000. And up to 12. Leave it on 12. Back out of everything. Yeah, clearer. Yeah, that was like a half a mile away we did that. So gosh, if you guys have to use 25 milliwatt, like in the UK, I'm sorry guys, that really sucks. But even you're not supposed to be using over 1,000 milliwatt anyway, so we were kind of cheating there a bit with the 1200. But you know, just for testing reasons, just really wanted to see. So I'm going to need to land this, guys, now. So I'm going to leave these goggles recording, put them on the ground here, and I'm going to try to land this thing. Ooh, there's like a flock of birds checking it out. So let's see if we can do this. Which way is the dang wind coming? Coming in at us. Woo! There she goes. Hard right. Don't want to hit any power lines. We're still flying with 4G, guys. Cool, huh? So I think this is a pretty good height. So we'll come in. Make a turn. I'm pulling left on the stick now. You're going to slow us down. And I'm going to see how close I can kind of land to my feet. Woo! Oh! Oh, went a little bit too low, but there we go. We landed about 50 feet away. I usually like to hit landing so it stops the motor, kind of. But that's all right. Check it out. We are landed. No harm done. Wow, we only had 9% power left. So we were fighting some wind out there in certain areas. Oh, a great flight. 4G is still working. And that's kind of cool how it beeps like that, right? So if it does think it crashed, even though we kind of landed it, but we didn't hit the landing button on the controller, it'll think it's a crash if the motor hits, like the propellers hit the grass and it cuts out without you pushing that. But you hear that little beeping? Kind of cool, huh? Even though they discontinued this disco, you can still find it around. Do some cool stuff with it, and it's just an overall fun plane. Not really for manual kind of flight, you know, like acrobatics. This is more like a smart, kind of like a drone, but in a plane form. If you do want to see the playlist on this, don't forget to check out the links in the description. I'll have all my disco flights and transplant flights. But anyway, let's get on the bench here and talk about this for a sec. Pretty awesome, but a little bit different than what I expected. And so I was thinking I might get another mile or two with it in the 1200 milliwatt power selection. But as you can see, we actually only went just slightly over 4 miles. It was definitely stronger up to 4 miles than it was at the 700 milliwatt test. And if you want to see that test, go ahead and check the link I had pop up here, and also in the description that I'll have all the tests I have on these goggles. But then when we were out there, remember I was cycling through 25 milliwatt all the way up to 1200, and you could really see a huge difference between like 25 and 200, and then from 200 and on up, basically just the clarity got quite a bit better. But it seemed like the range, you could still go out about that 4 miles. So behind our head coming this way, and we had the goggles still facing forward, that's when you could really see the difference in the 1200 milliwatt setting. But the 700 milliwatt setting in the last video, right at 1 mile, it just completely dropped, totally rubbish reception, and we dropped signal completely. But as you can see on the 1200 milliwatt setting, flying directly behind our head, pretty much line of sight. I mean, there's a couple trees, but we were pretty high up there. Flying directly behind our head, we almost got like 2 miles. I think it was 1.7, 1.8 before it really got garbly and kind of cut out. So definitely way more penetration, even though it was going through my skull, which you might not want to do. I would say for long range line of sight flying, doesn't really matter. You could keep it on the 700 to 1000, no problem. But if you really wanted that penetration, maybe through buildings, trees, just the best possible penetration you could get and the clearest possible signal, then it might be worth it to bump up that signal. But what I did notice, it did seem to drain this battery quite a bit more with that higher power setting on the air unit. So quite a bit more battery drain you're gonna find when you do bump up those power settings. So if you're running this on like your racing drone and you're trying to get those 1200 milliwatt penetrations, then just keep in mind that you're gonna degrade your battery life, your flight time, quite a bit. And don't miss the next video, guys, I'm going to be doing on this. I'm actually going to get some patch antennas for the digital FPV goggles, and we're going to do that same test with a couple of patch antennas, more directional, which will actually go right in the place of these little guys here that come from DJI. There's a couple patches you can get which should give us like way better signal facing out front. Then I'm also going to put better antennas on the actual air unit. So we're going to do that same flight coming up here pretty soon, and we're just going to see if we can get any more range between 25 milliwatt all the way up to 1200 milliwatt with those new directional patch antennas, because those are supposed to be pretty darn good. Anytime you have a directional antenna that has a larger surface area and it's made just for a certain direction, you usually get better range. But we're just going to see really how far we can take it with those patch antennas. So stay tuned for that one as well, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Anyway guys, I do hope you enjoyed that. I will have had the video on everything up, kind of switching in and out, small screens and big screens, so you could see exactly what was going on through the whole flight with the commentary. And I hope you really enjoyed that. It was enjoyable for me, and that's why I do these things, just so you know exactly how far we can push these things and what you can expect in owning an expensive device like this. I mean, these DJI goggles and the air system, I also have the controller. They're not cheap items, so I think it's really valuable information to know exactly what you're getting and how far you can kind of push these things, how they perform, before you go ahead and buy something like this, because they're not cheap. And you know, Christmas is coming around, and you may be wondering exactly how far you can go and what kind of penetration the different power settings are. And keep in mind, this is strictly only separate FPV. You can actually integrate this in with your Betaflight flight controller on race drones and stuff, and you can get some of the OSD from those up in here, and you can control them with the DJI controller as well if you got that kit. But this is strictly just separate FPV like I was talking about. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.